Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 224th edition of Cinema Effect. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by my fellow Hans Zimmer appreciator, Jaden.
Yo.
You get any last-minute Departed notes in?
Oh yeah, because you set me up for that whole maybe I'm going to be doing the Harrison part, so I thought I'd take some notes and I started. So fuck it, better finish it.
That's good. It's only going to help, you know. That's good. And of course, a resident Irish gangster, Fitzy, aka Leon.
Damn. Top of the morning to you.
Perfect. How did it feel to be in this movie, you know? What was it like working with Marty?
Oh yeah, Fitzgibbons. That was an experience for sure. Yeah.
That's actually another Fitz, I guess.
You know what? The kid that plays Matt Damon at the start, if you were to put him side by side with Liam's Disney Channel days, it's a pretty accurate mashup.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. Sure. But you know what? That kid looked like Matt Damon a fair bit, in my opinion.
And you're saying that this guy doesn't?
No. So it's like, it's one of those weird things where like you devolve the adult and you get the same kid, but then you go back to the adult version and it's like, well, what happened here? You know what I mean?
Okay. What happened here?
I guess... No, I didn't, you know. Take it however you like. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single Monday. And this week, that movie is The Departed, which opened in the US on October 6th, 2006. It was directed by Marty Scorsese, great friend of the show, of course. I think we're going to get him on soon. You know, I was corresponding via email.
Yeah, before he cocks it, we should really jump on it.
Yeah. It's a good call. Whew. Got to get in quick then. It's a crime drama, and the synopsis says, an undercover cop and a mole in the police attempt to identify each other while infiltrating an Irish gang in South Boston. Guys, did you know this movie was in Boston?
Oh, Boston, was it?
Was it in Boston? Did you realise that? I didn't realise that until I read the synopsis.
Yeah,
Oh, man. Okay. Fitzy, what did you think of The Departed, taking out your bias of being in it, of course? And how many times have you seen it since the premiere?
It might be hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I love this film. It was definitely, and it's definitely like a teenage kind of favorite. But I've seen it a bunch of times. Maybe 4 or 5 times. And I think the reason for that is because it's definitely like one of Scorsese's most just like purely watchable films, in my opinion. Just like in terms of pure entertainment, it's just like right up there for me. But yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. I think the editing, the pacing is just amazing. It's energetic throughout. All star fucking performances all around, and it's just tense as shit in that third act, and it's just awesome, you know. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this film.
Awesome. Same here. This movie's so good. It's funny because, like, I don't know, there are a couple of things about it that like should bug me, and I don't know. I think it just speaks to how awesome this movie is. That when you said it's the most watchable, I think that's a great way to put it, of Marty's works. I don't know. It just speaks to how good it is. But like the rest of it, I just don't care about the stuff that bugs me. Like, the editing is going to be a point in this conversation. Trust me. Because I think the editing in this movie is totally whack. But it's just, and I know this is something Jada and I have talked about it before as well, but that aside, it's just sort of off to the side in my mind's eye while I'm there just still loving the rest of the movie anyway. Yeah, it's awesome. We watched it, I showed it to Jake for the first time. We watched it in 2 equal parts and watched the first half and I was like, oh yeah, I'm digging this, you know, but I'm like, is this really a 9? You know, is this really 9 stuff? Which is what I had it at previously. And get to the end there. No spoilers, but that second half, man, oh man. Tell me about it. It was great. Jaden, The Departed, how many times have you seen it?
Yeah, this is my second time seeing it.
I should say I'm the same. Sorry, I should say.
Like I think we brought it up last week about time soon. I think it's pretty incredible. Like, yeah, pretty much along the lines with you guys. I think what what I think sells it so much is the performances. Like we'll get to the Andy stuff later because there is a lot of it, but I
We'll
think
break that down.
but I think the performances from everyone are so incredible, particularly Leo. I think like this, if anything, this should have been Leo's first Oscar. Um, I think he, as this on the edge kind of guy, struggling with morality and identity and everything, it's what keeps the film together and what keeps it, um, like kind of. I don't know. It kind of what's elevated to a Scorsese kind of thing for me. Like to like the quality, because obviously it has all the Scorsese elements, but like in terms of quality, like it really does come from Leo. Like I can't undersell how much I was impressed by his performance in this one.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. That's great. We'll definitely talk about that. Well, hang on. Like, so did you see that in the Oscars this year that this came out? He didn't get nominated for this. He got nominated for Blood Diamond instead.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude.
I guess they had
His
to pick one.
his Zimbabwean accent, and that's kind of whack.
I haven't seen it, but I was just like, yeah, no, I had to check that because I totally agreed with your sentiment about his performance. It's funny, Mark Wahlberg is the only actor in this movie to get nominated for an Oscar for this movie.
Oh, dead ass.
That's funny.
Yeah, he got Best Supporting Actor nominated for this. No one else got anything. Which, hey, I'm not a hater of that, but I just feel like at the same time, like, can we get some other shouts in there too? You know what I mean? I don't know what happened there. And it won Best Picture, obviously. So, I don't know. Interesting year for the Best Performances Awards at the Oscars, I guess. I don't know. Jane, you did a really great job bringing up Leo. I guess we may as well just dive into him. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think he's the strongest performance in the movie. There are a lot of entertaining performances in the movie, like Fitzy mentioned as well. And those things just make the film really fly by and really enjoyable. But like in terms of, that quality, that like Oscar performance, that highlight reel performance, it's Leo in the movie for sure. And there are so many standout scenes with him. Basically, anytime he's sitting, I don't know, like anytime he's sitting one on one with a character, it's just great. Or anytime when he's alone, like losing his mind, like taking drugs and shit. All those scenes when you see he's kind of falling apart, those really stand out to me as well. Like I don't know, that first scene when he's in Martin Sheen's office at the start, and he's just like clearly has no idea who he is, and he's getting interrogated on his past and if he's legit, and Dignam's doing his thing to him and all that, and he seems so fragile in that scene to me. And then the way he seems to, we get that transition of him then going to prison and coming out and becoming and taking on this role of the undercover guy, who's meant to be the gangster. And that transition of then you see this fake confidence he then has to put on for the rest of the movie, or most of it, when he's around, when he's playing his part around the mobsters and stuff. And because we saw that vulnerability at the start, you just sort of know throughout the rest of it, you just sort of see through it. You know how broken he is underneath. And you get glimpses, like I said, you get glimpses throughout of that still coming out. But I don't know, it's just a very layered performance depending on what scene he's in, I think. And it all starts with that sort of foundational. To me, that scene at the beginning is like the foundation of the performance. That's like ground level for this character, and he does a great job of selling that. And then everything else is sort of built upon it, and these different layers that are really interesting to watch. So yeah, he was very strong. I don't know. Would you say, Fitzy, is he your? Do you agree? Is he like your standout performance? Is there anyone else that like rivals him on a quality level?
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, the rest of the performances are kind of like they're great on just like kind of a pure entertainment level. Like we do get some moments with Matt Damon where we kind of see that vulnerability, but it's like much more subdued. But yeah, Leo is he's excellent. In this film, like as you said, all the kind of quiet moments in him where you see his like instability is really amazing. And like his portrayal of the false confidence, as you said, is really fantastic. Like, yeah, given what we know about the character, like sometimes you really believe it, but then because you have this context, it's like, you really see the character acting in an awesome
Yeah.
way, you know. And I think that's partly what's so great about Leo's performance is his ability to make you see a character act within the film is awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, agreed 100%. And it's that whole scene where, I mean, that scene's so good when he's talking with Jack Nicholson one-on-one and dude, oh my god, my notes are so mixed up in this movie because I like kept calling like every character I called like 3 different things because I'm calling them mixing between calling him Leo and Billy and all this shit. So
Yeah. Let's establish the names. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I'll
got
try. So
William.
oh no, not
Billy.
William. But we'll stick with
Billy.
Billy and and Costello, I guess.
Yeah.
When that
And
one-on-one
Colin.
scene when Costello's interrogating him if he's the rat, like to me watching it and just watching Leo's performance, it's like it's so obvious he's lying to me, but like not, but in a way that it's like it's only obvious to me because I know, kind of thing. Where it's
Yeah.
like I understand. It's not like, oh, this should be obvious to Costello. I understand why Costello doesn't see it from it. But it's just, I think that's just how good the performance is. Where like I can tell so clearly because I have all this knowledge, but
You have
I
all
understand
this
why being in his
knowledge.
shoes, all this knowledge.
Yeah, big brain. Yeah.
I
I think that's like the
you know
key
what I mean.
scene where, like, yeah, I like you do know because you have that context, but like there are moments where you are watching Leo and you like believe him. Well, I do at least, like that kind of context kind of slips away and you just you know, in Castella's perspective for a second. But like yeah, that scene's so great because like I don't know, he just kind of, the way Leo just kind of sends it, and the way his character sends it, sorry, in that scene, like the false confidence that you're talking about is like excellent. It's like it comes from nowhere and he just like pulls it off. And yeah, I think the way, you know, the film's obviously about like personas and lying and that kind of thing, and the way that juxtaposes with Damon's character as well is awesome. So yeah.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Also in the trivia, it was said that Leo said that scene he had with Jack Nicholson was one of the most memorable moments of his life. Was a quote from him. So that's pretty cool. Even like even Jack Nicholson in that scene, like his little his facials are so
oh my
funny,
god, dude. The rat, the when he makes the facial expression of the rat like gnawing for the cheese. Oh my god, it's so like intimidating, but it's so funny at the same time.
It's so,
like,
I know.
It's great, man.
I didn't know. Yeah, it's like when I saw that, I'm like, dude, I didn't know a human could look so much like a rat when he tried. Like,
yeah,
he really nailed it.
Actually, like my favorite expression from his though is when he like drops the thing. He like drops something, and Leo's like Billy's trying to be like kind of a bit intimidating at the moment, or like he's trying to tell him to back off, and he just kind of like looks at him. He's like, "Yeah, I'm listening." Yeah, you know. And, he just plays it so well because he's like, he plays it like he really feels like he doesn't, you know, he's above all that, you know.
100%.
What's it? Costello's character.
Yeah. And then when he leaves and then comes back for his cigarette, you know, just ultimately, just playing.
He's like behind him.
Yeah. He's just always exerting his power on everyone around him, you know. Yeah, no, that shit was awesome. I mean, editing is going to come up a bit, but I will say that one moment of editing I actually did quite like was when they were intercutting. There was that sequence where they were intercutting between Leo taking pills, talking with oh my god, Madeline. Yes, oh thank God. Leo talking with Madeline for the first time, him taking pills, and then him being at the scene where the guy gets killed I think it was the first time he'd seen someone die, I think, as far as I remember. When he was in that, you know, I don't know, that dude in his fancy house and then he got shot in the head by the other guy. The way that all those scenes were intercut, like it cut back and forth between them all, like 3 different times, sort of as one sequence. And I thought that was really effective to show how his mental state is just, how he's barely hanging in there is what, you know, everything's trying to convey at that point in the story. And I thought that was just a really great way to intercut all those scenes and convey that. And Leo was great in it, of course, as well. I do have to say, I don't know. But I guess would you consider Matt Damon, Jaden, a villain in this movie? Because I was trying to think. I had a note as I was watching it of like, I guess this is a rare Matt Damon villain performance. But I guess that also depends on your morality of all this, you know.
I don't see how you say it as not a villain.
I think. Well, okay. Well, he's not a hero. I'll put it that way. But it's more like, is he the villain, or is he just in this great? Does he exist in this greatness? You know.
I mean, he's a villain. I mean,
Okay,
he's quite explicitly a bad guy.
okay, yeah, fair enough.
He's groomed by Costello at a young age. I don't know if you're trying to say like, you know, he was kind of brought into it.
Yeah, that is one. I feel like
that's like what it is. But like, he's a villain. You know.
Yeah. No, you're. I mean, you definitely plays a villain part in the movie. But I guess like how reading the performance, like I guess how sympathetic were to you. Like to you, was this guy like a scumbag, or was this guy like, you know, you kind of were rooting for him in some moments? You know what I mean?
No, it was a scumbag.
Okay, all right. Right to the very end.
Yeah, he deserved it.
Okay, all right. Fair enough. So then, reading it then as you like as a scumbag villain performance, how did you enjoy Matt Damon's performance in that part?
In what, that part or the whole thing?
Yeah. But as the whole thing.
I don't want to say it's weaker than the rest, but I don't think it's as kind of memorable as the others. I think it kind of lacks the distinction of, I don't know, even Shane's characters or you know, Costello or any of the other, like Mr. French or any of the other bad guys. He kind of just does feel like the Boston kind of cop, and kind of like the most cookie cutter of the characters. And I don't think like, I mean, I think that's what he's meant to feel like though, because you know he's meant to be kind of blending in with two sides. So maybe you know, maybe Damon's doing great in playing this kind of this.
He plays like a blank slate really well.
Yeah,
you know, like someone who just fits in and is part of the mold, I guess.
Yeah. So like maybe I say there's nothing too special, but maybe that's why it is special. You know, he's the perfect mold as Liam said.
Yeah, I think there were a handful of moments where that sort of, where he sort of came out, like the true Colin came out. Like there was that. Thanks, mate. There was that one little moment where, you know, when he was, I think, like around halfway-ish through the movie, where he was sort of thinking. It seemed legit to me of when he was thinking of bailing on the city. You know, he's there in bed with Madeline. You know, and he seemed pretty upset. And that was just a rare moment where I felt like the real guy was coming out. You know. So, that was interesting to me. Like, did you guys read that as like coming from a, I don't know, like a real? Was that real to you guys? I guess I have no reason why it wouldn't be real. So I found it quite insightful.
I think there are like 2 or 3 moments before that where he has an opportunity to be vulnerable, and like I think Matt Damon's character is awesome in general, just because like the vulnerability that we see from Billy is so opposite from what we see from Colin. But like earlier in the film, I think that there's that park bench scene where he's looking at the building, and it feels like he suppresses something, and then later there's another conversation with what's the girlfriend's name, Madeline, where he doesn't want to talk about the issue that he has. So I think that moment is like the one true, like, yeah, as you said, like glimpse into Colin, which is cool. But yeah, I feel like he exists for kind of the commentary purpose of like the lies people, like the whole persona kind of thematic like thematic like through line that this film kind of has, I guess.
Yeah. So what is that overall to you then? I guess because I don't know. I didn't really. Unless is it more? Is it really just in those two characters, or does it exist elsewhere in the film?
Can I jump in, or is that directed to Liam?
No, go for it, bro. Go for it.
Well, so Liam's talking about persona, right? And but I'm thinking more along the lines of identity, you know. And I think when you look at his identity, I think you can see it in everyone. I think you can see it in Frank. and then you see it in Keenan, in Dingham, and everything like that. Whether it's about creating, maintaining, destroying, rebuilding identity, I think if you see it as identity and what the men are trying to do with it, I think you can see it everywhere, and I think that's the more of the through line. I think obviously strongest with Billy, but then obviously, but even with Frank's identity of trying to like maintain his power, and like you can see it crumbling away. Like even Billy mentions it when he comes in covered in blood and kind of losing it, he's losing his identity and losing his power. But he talks about influencing his environment rather than his environment influencing him. So that's I think yeah, identity is the main through line.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So what? But so I'm curious about this whole persona identity idea. Is this what like thematically what fits it? Like what is it overall to you, and that connects the two main characters? I guess. Like I understand they're both. I understand there's similarities literally in the plot and what they're doing, but like I don't know. Like, is it what's the film trying to say in that sense?
Well, like, okay, this is one of the things about the film that has always bugged me a bit, because like I feel like there are moments where they're clearly directing us towards something or some kind of idea. Like especially there are two moments in the film where Colin gets like random attention from like a woman, and then Billy is like ignored. You know what I mean? Like in that interview scene, the receptionist like is like she's like all kind of lovey-dovey with Colin, and then she's like, "Oh, you can go in now," to Billy. And then they do a similar thing later where they cross-cut between Colin on his date and Billy in like the medical in like a hospital with a nurse, right? So I feel like along the lines of like identity and maybe persona, I don't know, but it has something to do with that. But I just can't. I've never been able to like. I've never really analyzed it deeply. But there's something there. I think it has a lot to do with like the social, like the the whole North and South thing, and like the social divide as well. Because sorry, that's right.
Does Frank mention something about? Is it Frank Keenan that says something about getting married is a good sign?
Oh yeah, it's Alec Baldwin's character.
Oh, he says it even. Okay. But doesn't Frank mention as well about like he asked Billy about a girlfriend, and like obviously we see his relationship in detail quite often. So like I think you're definitely on the right path about relationships and shit as well.
Yeah, well, like I think just like Colin's like identity, if you want to say that, like it's like he's just such an upright seeming individual that he gets the attention from the colleagues and his boss and just everything, whereas Billy, because of his like background and the way he kind of, I guess in the start he wears that on his sleeve a little bit, maybe that's what gives him that level of non-attention from others or something.
I kind of like Persona. I kind of like, well, obviously, definitely for the Central 2 anyway. Is it a kind of like the dangers of personas?
I think like
is it like critical of it?
I think fundamentally it's about like the benefits of lying, or like how society treats people who lie, right? As in like Frank has everything, Colin kind of gets everything from his job and stuff, and it's like they're massive like liars, right? And it's like a nation of rats and all that. So I think that is the main kind of idea.
That's okay. That's interesting. I like that. So then, but then they gain their power through that, and they influence through that. But then it all falls apart for all of them, right?
Yeah.
Except, well, so I guess carrying this on, like Dignam is a straight character, right?
I was thinking that like Dignam
he's the straightest shooter,
and Sheen's character are like the most honest characters, and well, Martin dies, but Dignam is like one of the few that survives, and he's like
Yeah.
an honest character. Yeah.
Well, he clearly gets the last laugh in the movie. Like he is the quote unquote, I don't know, victor. I don't know. That feels inappropriate, but you know what I mean. Like I don't know. It feels this through. I like this discussion because it feels then relevant that he's the guy at the end to get
Yeah.
Damon.
Yeah.
You know.
I think
I
that's
like that
also
a
why
lot.
it's such a satisfying moment, because like he is the one kind of straight guy amongst them.
Yeah.
The one straight. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah.
Jaden, come on. Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, no, I like that a lot. I sort of didn't really, to be honest, I didn't really think of the film in those terms. Like, I understood the themes of deception and persona and all that, but I didn't really think of it in terms of, I don't know, like broader, like, you know, how we lies, you know, as humans and like what that means and shit, and that what it's saying about that. I like that. I guess it also, I mean, what you were saying about where they come from is interesting too, like the reasons we lie. You know.
Yeah, I mean, and the film's definitely like about this, because there's also that conversation between Billy and Madeline in his office, where he just directly asks, like, "Why do you lie? You know, do you lie?"
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And she gives her reasons why she lies. So,
Yeah, for sure. Um, I have to say, I was in trying to break down like the reasons why these characters lie and stuff. Um, I was really, I guess I was more impressed with Matt Damon. That sounds like you guys might have been. Um, he was the character I was watching most this time because, like, I love Leo's performance, like 100% on board with that. But like, you know, I understood his part. I guess I was trying to. Matt Damon, Colin was a character I was trying to figure out throughout this movie a little bit, where those moments of vulnerability that spring up really interested me that we talked about, and then also just trying to understand his motivation. I really like the intro sequence. I totally forgot about it. I had no recollection of it, but the whole intro sequence where, you know, we see him basically being groomed by Costello is how I interpret that. I thought that was a really interesting starting point. And then just throughout the film, like trying to understand how he's in such a deep position, and the way he plays it all is really cool. How calm and confident he is throughout. He does such a good job at, in my opinion, of like convincing everyone in the police force. Like Alec, every time Alec Baldwin talks to him about, you know, like finding the rat and stuff, he's just so convincing. He's even more convincing than Leo in his position, in my opinion.
yeah.
In terms of there being no conceivable understanding that he could be the rat himself, you know. I found him super convincing in that sense. But yeah, in terms of he's just he's in so deep and so high up at this point that I was just kind of sort of trying to understand what kept him going and what his motivations were throughout. And like I feel like the ending when he kills Frank has to reveal something about that. But I guess like what do you think the motivator is, the driver is, first and foremost? Is it that he sees Costello as a father figure and like this is like a familial thing, like I don't know, like like trying to prove himself validation kind of thing? Because that's sort of the best way I could read it. Because otherwise, you know, they do reference in the film that, you know, that I quickly say Costello doesn't pay well. And outside of that, I also didn't get the interpretation that he was doing it for money throughout anyway. So I was trying to
Well,
sort
I
of
can't you see it as that he's just part of the mob and that he's just doing his job as part of as Costello's crew.
Yeah, but why does anyone else do it? I guess that's a relevant question as well. Because the film does make a point of like where the loyalty to Costello comes from. You know, like why does anyone work for him?
True. Well, like first of all, I think Damon is excellent. Like in this film. But like, just in terms of the sympathy thing, like I do have like an instinctive kind of like dislike for Damon's character, I guess. But there are moments. There are moments like in this watching and definitely in previous watches where I've sympathized with him, because I think the main thing that his character is about is just escaping this world and becoming like legitimate, like a kind of in like in the way like Al Pacino wants to in like The Godfather, right? Or like there's a character from The Wire as well who like tries to escape their roots, but their roots keep kind of like bringing him back. to where he doesn't want to go. So I feel like it's just that, and like in those moments where you realize that, you can kind of sympathize with him because like he didn't really have a family. He was like groomed by kind of Frank, as you said, and he's slowly realizing that Frank isn't going to look out for him. So he's just trying to kind of legitimize himself throughout the whole film. So that's what his whole character kind of is, I guess. Which is something that's like pretty easy to sympathize with once you can see, I guess. But because like, you know, you're so rude because he's, you know, the villain of the story, it's hard to feel that all the time, because we're seeing like everything is mostly through Billy's perspective. So, but yeah, that's kind of how I feel about him. I feel like he's trying to definitely escape everything.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I guess no, you put what I was trying to say very well, and that I think that's what I found so fascinating about the performance and trying to read into the character motivation this time was that, in my opinion, that's not really that obvious. It's not nearly as obvious in my opinion as Billy's arc in the movie, or as what Billy's going through in the movie. Like that's, you know, anyone can, that's not subtext at all. I feel like you have to look a bit harder to see that for Damon's character. I feel like I definitely on the first watch, like I don't know, I sort of just didn't really think much about it. I was sort of like, oh yeah, he's the mole. He's doing his thing for Frank. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a bit less. You sort of have, at least this time, I had to look for it, and I'm glad you saw it as well, because I definitely, that's where the sympathy aspect comes in for me. You know, where I sort of, I don't know, I think there's more going on there that I relate to than just him being a total scumbag kind of thing. You know.
I also don't feel like he's like an evil character either, because like I feel like if Colin got everything that he wanted, and he, you know, he got rid of Frank and he deleted Billy, and Billy went away or something, or Billy was killed. But, well, if he wasn't killed at the end, basically, I don't know if he'd remain, if he'd still do bad things, or if he would, if he'd do any of the. I mean, he was just in that position. He was just put in that position in the first place, right? It was kind of thrust upon him. So I think he would be a fairly normal dude after everything.
It seems like he wants to be, like you said. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A scene in the warehouse where he shoots Frank. What is it? He says something about, they have that little exchange about, you know, you're like a father to me, or like they sort of acknowledge in some way that was an element to their relationship, right? But I feel like I'm not sure if I interpreted that correctly. I don't know if you guys, I guess I'm just wondering if you guys read like the father figure element to the relationship as being significant. Because there's a line, there's a line in the, god damn. Sorry,
well, Matt Damon says something like all that money, all that pussy, and no sons, or something like that. That's what the line
and
is.
Then right, no, yeah. But then I think Frank responds with like, so, oh, you wanted to be, oh, so, you know, you were going to be my son or something. You know. Oh shit, that's not what he said, but it was something along those lines.
Like, where like he was. He said like I loved you, and then Colin like finished his sentence like a son, like, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly yes. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. How do you read into it then? I guess. If that father dynamic is important to the motivation then to kill him, and, you know, and everything that's been building.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how Colin thinks about it, because he's interrogating Frank about what he thinks
about the FBI connection.
No, just about like whether or not he sees him as like a son, I guess. Like Colin feels very unsure of that. And I don't know if Frank cares that much either. But I think it feels like Colin's almost reaching. It feels like Colin's almost reaching to like to think that way, to think that Frank thought that, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
Because Frank, I don't think Frank gives a shit about having a son kind of figure.
I don't think so.
I think like Damon saying like a son, like if that's what he does say, like you're saying, I think he's saying that, like, I think he's kind of throwing that to the wind, as, you know, because I think Frank's saying that as like a last ditch effort to keep him on his side.
Mm,
And Damon in finishing it kind of just throws it to the side, doesn't he?
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, okay. So then, okay, that's cool. Then I was looking at the whole thing as like sort of this Damon wanting to understand how Frank sees him and wanting his validation in some sense. So I feel like, okay, I feel like you guys have helped validate my
I think
theory a little bit.
there probably is something there in the fact that like all their codes use like familial structure. Like, you know, they say, "Dad, I can't make for dinner," or, you know,
Oh,
like,
right,
I'm
yeah.
going to be late or whatever, and like that. So there probably is something there in terms of like, you know,
You could have chosen any
family
code.
structure and kind of like something like that. And in terms of like, I mean, there is a line about families rise and fall and all that. Like I guess it is kind of just like mafia kind of thing, using family, I guess. But I
Yeah,
don't know. Maybe there might be something a bit more with the dad thing. In
I
that,
think
like
so. And
Frank, like you call Frank dad when you call him with code, I guess is the thing. Yeah.
Exactly. And at the same time, like they say multiple times throughout the film that, I mean, first of all, I think the whole opening sequence is pretty clearly like it's a grooming, but like it's pretty clearly a father son kind of like taking you under your wing, kind of I'll
Yeah,
raise
yeah.
you kind of grooming, and you get that again, again at the start when like the older Matt Damon graduates and gets in the car, it's like his pops came to visit him at graduation or something. It kind of gives off that kind of vibe to me. Um,
Mm.
and then, but yeah, you sort of take that knowledge and compare it to multiple times throughout the movie. Frank references the fact that he brings people in if they have use to him. Which obviously is a perfectly logical mobster mindset. So as a result of that, I think in that last moment, like I think Colin's trying to understand, like did this guy was I just a long I mean, we could see it earlier, I suppose, but like was I just a long project for this guy? Like so he could,
Yeah.
a long-term investment essentially, or like did he
Well,
actually care about me at all?
like the reveal that there's multiple people in the department at the
That
end as
too.
well kind of
Yeah.
shows that it was, you know, that your last thing you mentioned about long term investment about
100%. I sort of want to talk about it separately as well, but that moment in particular when, the other mole comes and saves Colin, because he pops Leo out of the elevator. I think that's sort of a I don't know, like a heartbreaking moment for Colin as well. It sort of feels like the wrong way to use, but I think I think that shatters Colin too. And outside of just the fact, like obviously, then he shoots him on the spot as well, which I found that moment was funny to me. Like that was like, oh, of course, like if you're in this, of course he would do something like that, But yeah, the sympathy definitely came out for me in that moment too, where it's just like I think Colin sort of realized his entire understanding of his relationship with Frank was a lie in that moment because he wasn't special. He wasn't even if he was previously cynical about, oh, is Frank just doing this so he can have a mole? It's like, well, now I wasn't even the only mole. You fucking did this with like who knows how many people, and
Yeah.
I think that's pretty. I think that has to shake the foundations of the character.
I mean, it happens throughout the whole film, I guess. Like that's part of his arc. Like the fact that he finds out that Frank's talking to the FBI and stuff like that. It's a slow kind of unraveling. But like he definitely yearns for like a father figure because you can kind of see that with him and Alec Baldwin, right? Like with his boss.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
Like
yeah.
That's another kind of surrogate father thing that he has. And like in general, the film is just comments on those like the like father figures. Like obviously with Billy's dad, they like bring it up a few times, and his family. So
yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, and actually, you know what? Making more connections. You're totally right. Like obviously, Colin learning that Frank was an FBI informant and didn't tell him was prior to what we were just talking about. But that's definitely another step towards like what the fuck. And then another one has to be, I assume, for Colin when he learnt that Frank's attorney gave Billy all the tapes, all his insurance tapes.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. And the money,
right?
Was it money? No, just the tapes.
Oh yeah, he ended up trusting
sure.
Billy more than he trusted. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Like that has to hurt. That has to. I feel like that's another step there. That's another little dagger there. where it's like, oh, dude, what the fuck? He gave him to Billy, the guy who was the rat, you know? Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I feel like you guys are helping me build a good case here for Colin, you know, in terms of understanding him more. And Jaden, he's not a total scumbag, you know. Come on.
He is, but he's just not, you know, like. He's just
but you get why.
You get why. As you know, it seems.
Sure. Yeah.
I think. Sorry, were you done with? Were you done with? Oh,
please.
Okay. Just because you mentioned Alec Baldwin, it kind of reminded me that like there are like quite a few like comedic like bits throughout the film that I just did not remember at all. Like quite a few of them do come from Baldwin. Some from Costello, but like, you know, he like Baldwin hugging a guy, you know, celebrating the Patriot Act, and Costello obviously, like, you know, in that scene with Blair when he's like scaring him and you know with all the gun and all that shit. I mean, like, it was like a great kind of balance to the film, and also kind of a great display of power, I think, as well, in a way. But
yeah. Oh, dude, there are so many fun performances in this movie. Alec Baldwin's, I know, is it like? Is one like? Can we say we like Alec Baldwin now? You know, it's one of these situations.
I think it's fine. I mean,
yeah,
it wasn't really his mistake. It was a mistake, and it wasn't really his mistake.
We'll see. But yeah, no. I was sort of half joking. Like, he's so entertaining in this movie. He has so many good lines. I mean, dude, I don't know. This movie's the characters in the movie are pretty homophobic there in the Boston State Police. You know what I mean? That becomes pretty apparent. There's so many, but I love that moment when he tells when he asks Damon if he smokes.
Oh, yeah. What do you have? Yeah, fuck off.
Yeah, you one of those health freaks? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Jesus, dude, that escalated quickly, you know. Yeah, no. So he was fantastic for sure. Oh, I mean, there are so many. Dude, Marky Mark is so entertaining in this movie. I love it. He's fantastic. You can't go wrong. I don't know. I always remembered him as being really funny in this movie. And I was kind of worried, like, I don't know, did I build that up in my head? I don't think I did. I think he's just really great. I really enjoyed him a lot. And
I think it comes later. I think, like, I didn't love him in the opening interrogation scene with both Colin and Billy.
Oh, he was a lot. Yeah.
But then, like, I think as you kind of drip feed him later, you know, with other stuff, I think it gets better.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I definitely understand that for sure. Something about like him and Martin Sheen being like this inseparable sort of couple throughout the film, like at least in the first half-ish, is just really funny to me. I don't know, because it's such a random duo on paper, you know, like if you're putting Mark Wahlberg and Martin Sheen on screen together, and it's like, I don't know, when you just say that, it sort of sounds like, sure, I guess, I don't know, but then like in the first half of the movie, that I'm pretty sure they're like barely, maybe in some brief shots and stuff, but like they're barely seen without each other. And I just found it so funny, that moment, you know, when Frank's walking at the docks or whatever it is, and then like they're around the corner waiting for him, like in the standing by the brick wall. I just, and the way they're both just leaning there together is just so funny to me. It's just like, what these, like in this universe, these dudes are just like they're just bros, you know. They just do everything together, you know.
I love how they did that in the first place. Like they just came up to him to just to chat, you know.
Yeah.
What were they going to achieve from that, you know, fucking conversation, man? It wasn't going to reveal anything.
I know, exactly. It's just like you get the sense that they were just chatting in the office, and they're just like, you know, do you just want to go and have a chat to him now? Why not? Just to sort of tickle themselves, basically. Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was great. And Martin Sheen's one of my favorite actors, so like he was awesome in the movie for sure.
Oh, really? Is that because of the West Wing, or was that just?
Oh, that's cemented it. I loved him in Apocalypse Now, of course.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, good question. I feel like there is. Shit. There might not be, but you know what? I've seen him in like
pretty good with Martin Sheen.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I've seen him in like, maybe not, but I've seen him in like 15 hours of The West Wing now, like in terms of like just him screen time. So like I feel like it's enough to justify him being one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I loved him being in the film for sure.
So to go back to it. But is part of the reason why you don't see Damon as a complete scumbag is because he gives Billy his kind of identity back in his merit, and he like recommends for the merit. Like, do you see that as like a redeeming act of his character?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, good question, but no. I mean, Well, so he had no sense that. Actually, you know what? That's interesting. That's actually a good question because he knew that Billy was the rat, obviously at that time.
Yeah.
So in his mind, sort of saying to what going back to what Fitzy was saying earlier, like in his mind, thinking that he was loose of all this, thinking that because the only thing that changes that is then he realizes that Billy knows that he's
Yeah.
So like if he's free of all that shit, like you were saying earlier, Fitzy, like you assume he was just gonna be nice, like he had nothing against.
No, I think he was. Yeah. Like I think
Yeah.
once
I
they're
think, yeah.
once they're in the office together, and before Billy knows, it's like he was ready to just like be a nice guy and kind of live a normal life or whatever.
Right. Like when he could have if he really cared about Frank so much and was so invested in that mob or whatever, like he could have taken revenge or something, But like
Yeah,
he's not.
I
He
don't think he
wasn't
had
gonna
any
do
care
that.
for Frank or like a loyalty for Frank at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which kind of is
So,
like
yeah.
it pisses me off a bit that Billy that Billy even found that, but because I mean I'm not that sympathetic, and I'm not sympathetic enough to Colin to like fully feel that, but it's almost like a hate moment, where everything could have been fine.
Yes, 100%.
If that didn't happen.
Yeah, and then Billy learned and couldn't let it go. I mean, I totally understand why Billy realized that and had to run with it.
Yeah.
Because like from his point of view, he's exposing the total conspiracy of the corruption of the entire system. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. You're totally right. It is one of those things where like, if he could have just, I don't know, if he could have had a different perspective, if he could have zoomed out, like, and obviously he doesn't know Colin. He doesn't understand. Like, if I leave Colin alone, he's probably going to be okay. Like.
Yeah.
From his point of view, it's an inherent corruption. So, like, he's got to. Yeah, that's tricky. You're right. He could have been free. That's sad, man. That's sad.
I mean, death is a kind of freedom anyway, So that's not so bad.
But he was gonna take his money and go and move somewhere cool or whatever. Go to where do they go in? Where they want to go in Heat? I can't remember.
Oh, they're going to go to New Zealand, weren't they?
Oh yeah, that's right. It was New Zealand. Yeah, he was going to go. Leo was going to go to New Zealand in this movie or something. That would have been awesome. That sucks.
What do you guys think of Madeline? Just as like a kind of like a go between the two guys, and like just as a character in general.
I'll kick this off with some trivia here. Vera Farmiga met with a real LAPD psychiatrist to prepare for her role. The psychiatrist read the script and told Farmiga that Madeline did pretty much everything wrong. And I agree. That's my take. Whereas, like, dude, I don't know. I was surprised that she allowed Billy to hang around for so long and, then slept with him and stuff. I was like, wow, okay, that's interesting.
But that's after she stops being his psychiatrist.
Yeah, I know. But even still, it was weird. And, like he acknowledged it could have been inappropriate and then she still kept going. That's where I was kind of like, I don't know. I feel like she was inappropriate throughout. I'll put it that way. That one meeting should have been it for their connection.
Nah, that's boring.
I'm not saying it's not boring, but yeah, okay. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Did you guys like understand like why she would get with Leo at all? Like,
I think it's
Billy?
more from a meta aspect of like. Not entirely meta aspect, but like I think her continued relationship with Leo is kind of would speak to like thematic workings of the film, wouldn't it? In that, like an inherent. It's about the vulnerability that you were talking about earlier, wasn't it? Like vulnerability in that Billy is so vulnerable with her, whereas Colin never is.
Yeah,
and, from the first, he's always projecting a front of like. And he's like he tells her, you can't analyze an Irish or whatever, which that's great that they have a built-in buff. Apparently, good on you, Liam. But
I don't know.
Like, yeah, I think it makes sense in terms of like Billy being everything that Colin should be in the relationship, pretty much. I don't know. Like Colin is obviously like the upstanding one, but Billy is the actual like emotionally intelligent one, I guess.
Emotionally available.
Yeah, right. And that's as a psychiatrist, she'd be into that, I guess.
Yeah,
Probably more so than a husband that's lying to her. Yeah.
yeah. No, I do think that's like the main thing. I mean, that's shown kind of through. I mean, like the picture, which
Yes.
Colin rejects and Billy kind of like accepts. It's kind of like an opening up of like
Hangs it
acceptance of
high.
like childhood. Yeah, yeah. But I do like that aspect of the film. It's like, yeah, I think she's pretty good as well, just in general. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she ends up. I don't know. She ends up knowing the truth. One of the few people that do, I guess. So does she? I interpreted by the ending. So she tells Dignam, and that's how Dignam gets to Colin at the end.
Well, whether Leo sent things to Dignam as well, or whether she got into contact with him, I'm not sure.
So Leo sent her that package at the end, which I don't think we see her open.
Oh no! So what would have happened is that envelope that he gives to her would be to get to contact Dignam, but that letter was meant for Damon.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Sorry.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the package she opens is not the same one that was meant for her.
What package?
With the tapes.
The letter she like that she opens when he's in the shower. That.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that was meant for Colin, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. But then Billy also gave her a package.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But so if that package said reach out to Dignam, his mobile number or whatever, then yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
That checks out. So then so she ends up sort of being then with Dignam. I guess that's it, right?
I don't. Maybe I don't know. I didn't really think about how Dignam got the information, but like in that moment when she opens the recording, like what she thought was that Billy's sending Colin like a tape about her like cheating on him basically, and that's why she's like really worried in that moment. Like I didn't even consider that on previous watchings, but like
I didn't think of it.
No,
she's like really worried there because she's like, oh, Billy's trying to like expose me here, because she has no idea what else else is going on between those two.
Right, so that was her motivation to open it. I mean, she might have. I don't know if she would.
I mean, also,
anyway,
just, yeah.
But yeah, that makes sense. Like that was her. That's what going into it. That's where her headspace was at. I didn't even think of that. That makes perfect sense, though.
But it's like just interesting to think of like her perspective. It's like her whole thing. Like she even says later, I thought I was the liar. When she confronts Colin, and it's like her whole thing is that she's been worried this whole time that she's like, been unfaithful, and she's having this whole thing about it. But it's like all this shit is going on in the background that's like totally, different from that. So
I also think. Did you think that her accent came and go in the film? I think her Boston accent's stronger when she's with Damon, and I think it goes more towards the thing about she lies to keep the balance. She mentioned earlier, and like she projects more of that like kind of Southie thing when she's with him because that's what he likes, and then like she drops it when she's like in her professional setting or just like with Billy like on her own. I think she works. Yeah, like regardless of like all, like how like inaccurate it is, I think she works fantastically for the film. And I think Farmiga is fantastic as it.
It's also like very interesting and like ironic that Colin attaches himself to a psychologist when he's such a like repressed individual. It's like Irish. Because he's Irish. Yeah, I mean, he's Irish and a rat and everything. But he, it's like he needs her to like open up, I guess.
Oh, so did you say it was interesting that Billy or Colin attached himself?
Colin, but they're both Irish.
Is Billy Irish?
Billy's Irish, but Colin also is.
Yeah, I think the only downside to the whole therapist part and Farmiga and the Billy and all that stuff was that they have the shit version of Completely Numb. They have the Roger Waters re-recorded version rather than the Pink Floyd one. So. I don't know if that's a Is that a Netflix thing or is that an actual movie thing? Because I swear in the original, it was the original Pink Floyd version, and like maybe Netflix
No,
should get the rights.
it's always been Roger Waters.
Yeah, that's so shit, man.
Dude, it's a great version. What do you mean?
Nah, like honestly, like Roger's voice went like as soon as he left Pink Floyd, and it's just it's hard to listen to, man.
I don't think the original song would work as well.
I don't think it would work, and that's why I've always had an issue with it. I think Comfortably Numb's a weird song to have sex with, but like the fact that it's, but now I have an issue with it that it's a Roger Waters version rather than it just being a weird song to have sex with. True.
Okay.
What were your other notes about the soundtrack in general?
Dropkick Murphys, like I'm Shipping Up to Boston, is just such a fun song. And like he only plays like, you know, the 10-second soundbite twice, but like it comes back. Like, it feels like it permeates the film, and like it feels like it is like the identity. Like I feel like when people think of like the soundtrack, I feel like surely like that is like the song that people think about, right?
Yeah.
But then even at the start, like using the Stones and like the lyrics that like kind of mirror Costello. You know, it's all clever stuff, and it's all great music that works fantastically to the film and to the characters.
Yeah, they had to have "Gimme Shelter" in there somewhere. You know, did they have it twice, or is that wrong?
I think they had another Stone song. I'm not sure if it was the same one. I can't recall.
But the way I guess we can get into the editing here. But like the way the music comes in, just like so suddenly, like with that "Gimme Shelter" song and a bunch of other like hard rock kind of songs, you know, it's just great. It really works, especially in like those montage scenes where Billy is in with the mob, in with Mr. French. Those are just like really exciting, like, you know, Scorsese kind of stuff right there. So yeah.
That is, but come on, you can't tell me that when they transition out of some of these songs, it's like jarring shit.
So many weird cuts.
Yeah,
and it like watching this, it did make me remember like having like talking to you after watching it about all the weird cuts, and I was like, what the fuck is going on with this? And like I didn't even I thought that shot of Damon at the start, that close and then opens up, I thought that was towards the end. So when it like comes early, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, that's here. I was like, how much more do we have to come? I was like,
why was that in
so
the movie?
much weird shit.
That was weird. That's the thing about it. It's not. I don't think it's all.
It's not
bad. I don't think it's
bad.
Weird.
Yeah, that's what we've been saying for years.
And it's not like it detracts from the movie overall. But it's just odd. Like every time, I'm just like, for like 2 seconds, I'm just like, what the fuck? And then I'm just, you know, back, you know, and that's fine. But yeah, dude, I don't know. Yeah, that was so glad you brought that weird, like, what do you call that? I don't know, that weird like silhouette shit, or like the circular.
I don't know, it's Looney Tunes as fucking
Looney Tunes
transition. There was another one that was even worse. It wasn't like as like kind of jarring or stiff in terms of like, you know, blacking out and like zooming in on a character or whatever like it is. But there was one cut that was just so awkward that came not too long after that. Do you know the one? I can't recall what exactly it was, but like do you have any other notable like weird things?
It's so hard to yeah. The only one I specifically wrote down, it happens a fair bit, but the one I think they're coming out of, it's when Baby Blue is playing and they're I think it cuts to an exterior of Billy then going to Martin, like at the front of Martin Sheen's front yard. So just such a little specific moment.
Yeah,
that is a what the fuck happened there? Like that one hits you. And it's I totally agree with you, Fitzy, where it's like it can hit when the music comes in and stuff like that. And then it's like just like the equally opposite reaction of it, of like, oh, then it can hit you as well in this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, it's so funny. It's almost like the whole film comes across like it's edited at a really fast pace, obviously, you know, to just keep the adrenaline going, keep the energy going, keep the runtime down, you know, they don't really let scenes breathe at the beginning and end and all that kind of thing. I think that's totally a valid creative decision. I think that's great. there are a lot of these standout moments throughout that like get your attention, but like I don't know, realistically, like 90% of the movie is cut really well. Realistically, you know, it's just these moments that stand out so much that sort of make it feel like it's more. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what were they thinking? What was Thelma thinking? You know,
I don't know.
Genuine curiosity. I don't say that in like a rhetorical question, like it was terrible kind of way. I just meant it like I would love.
There was some experimental. There was some experimental shit going on there, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Because I can't think of the other thing is I can't think of any other Marty movie put together this way too. It's not like that's just Thelma's trademark, you know, or whatever. It's not like I've never seen it before or since, as far as I can remember. Like I was trying to think Fizzy, you would know this way better than me. For some reason, like I don't know, is Casino like this?
Casino would be like close.
Yeah,
like Goodfellas would probably be close enough.
I don't think Goodfellas had stuff.
I don't remember that about it, but yeah, I
like the second half maybe, but like you'd definitely like Casino would be the next best thing in terms of the pacing of the editing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think there's. I don't think this is definitely like way faster than anything else, and I think it's just like I don't know. Maybe they thought this is our chance to just go like absolutely balls to the wall and just kind of even if it doesn't work in some moments, it's like let's just make this as fast as possible, as crazy as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I respect the intent. I do. Yeah, and there's just some weird. They throw in some fades every now and again. Like, why was there a fade there? You know, I don't know. There are just a couple of times where it just feels like that was an example of like that almost like I feel like you just didn't have to do anything there. That could have just been a cut. You would be fine. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's very. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in the editing room for this one because I feel like there would have been some very interesting conversations to be had. And that's the thing about it that like also makes me not like a lot of the time I just wouldn't give the benefit of the doubt and just be like it's terrible editing, whatever. But like, that's the thing. Like I know for a fact, like if again we're trying to get Marty on the show before he carks it. Like I know for a fact if we were to sit down and talk to Marty about it, I am 99% sure he would have a very well thought out reason for every single one. If we were to like cut through, if we were to like literally timeline the movie, like what about this one? And he'd like give me an explanation. I'm sure he would. You know, I have confidence in that. But I don't know. Did he do a DVD commentary? Maybe look into that. But yeah. It's definitely worth pointing out because it's definitely one of the standout aspects of the movie for I think people paying attention like us. It's hard not to notice, you know.
Yeah, but like just on the uniqueness of some of the shots in general, like with that opening thing with Damon, like you get that like you know that thing where you just see him through the hole, and then later on there's a lot of I think it's called split diopter shots. Where it's like double focus. It's like both characters on either side of the screen are equally in focus, and like the middle is like slightly blurry, right? It's like a big thing that like De Palma does. But like that happens so many times in the film. Like it happens a lot with Costello, but also with Colin, and I think like definitely a few times with Leo's character, with Billy as well. It's very it's very frequent in the film. I think it's probably the most like unique thing about the film's cinematography. I don't know if you guys like noticed it a lot, but it's very present.
I didn't notice it at all, so I'm very glad you did. And you had a cool name for it too. So
I think that's what it's called.
More about that. I want to learn more about that for sure.
It's all the rage on Twitter.
How so?
Oh, people love pointing out split diopters. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
What are they? Is there an example like of a recent movie where someone pointed it out?
No clue, but just you know, I don't know, on my timeline, I just get like, you know, people treat split diopters like that one scene in Lord of the Rings where Hugo kicks the helmet and they need to mention it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. But the idea is that I assume there had to be a special camera for that to work at some point invented.
Oh, I don't know how they do it. I have no clue.
It'd be a
Yeah, it
lens, wouldn't it,
sounds
rather than a camera?
or a lens. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It sounds pretty
Yeah.
fancy to me. Yeah,
Mm.
I mean, it sounds
But
awesome.
I mean, I
Okay.
know, I get why people mention it all the time. I think it's all. I think it's awesome. You know,
It's cool technique.
Mm.
Like in the opening, like when Colin's young, like Costello's always like his face is always shaded, like or in like darkness.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is like a really cool like way to introduce the character as like this kind of like shadow figure or like boogeyman type thing.
And it worked to sort of hide the like. I assume I interpreted the double method was like to sort of hide the age aspect to it. You know, a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. I think more so thematically is more the relevant part. But yeah, either way, both ways it was cool. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that was an 100%. Yeah, well, I know. While we're talking about impactful shots and moments and stuff, I mean, there are quite a lot. I love that shot of when Martin Sheen's falling. You know, just that one shot of him actually falling, like against the backdrop of the building, and because then I think there's pretty consistently score and music, or maybe just, I don't know what the song was playing, and then you just get silence as him falling.
Yeah.
And you just get this moment. It's basically just there to give you a moment of gasp before he hits the ground. I'm just like, oh, no. Oh, and he hit the ground flat, you know. I thought that was really cool. That whole sequence was awesome when they converge on the building. I love that.
I think it's interesting. Like there's so like it's like the most obvious thing, but like obviously they use color as a symbol for like good and bad, and they use like the most traditional colors of red and blue. But it's interesting that like Leo gets doused in red blood when Sheen falls. Sorry, Costigan gets doused in red blood when Keenan falls. And it's kind of like it's not meant to show the character like switching sides, or it's not even meant to show guilt in terms of you know being responsible for Keenan's death, but it's meant to like show like kind of guilt on the fact that he is the rat, because it exposed that he went to the wrong address, like to the right address. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That scene then afterwards was good when he was like talking. I don't know, dude. I don't know what the guy's name was, but the guy who was also the undercover cop and didn't realize. That was really good, dude. The whole final sequence. I mean, we'll get to Andy's stuff later. I could not disagree with Andy more on this in terms of the staging of the final rooftop sequence, going down the elevator, and the death of Billy. Because I think it's just
I mean, like how shocked were you guys on the first viewing, you know, with Billy? That shit like changed my my brain right there. That was
agreed.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I watched Murder Video and Disappointment.
Oh, that's devastating, dude. No, 100%. I remember distinctly. It's definitely the most memorable part of the movie on a first watch. Of just like the absolute perfect example of an explosive, impactful, jarring moment in the best way. I'm just like, what the fuck? Like you get Leonardo DiCaprio just like killed out of absolutely nowhere in the most, but the way it was done was just awesome. I think it's so awesome. And the way that they use like the elevator, like knowing it's coming this time was also awesome, because like knowing that the elevator like levels dinging is like basically like watching it this time, understanding that's the countdown and he's about to get fucked right now. It's like his impending doom was really, really cool. Yeah, it's so good. And just that whole, I don't know, that whole everything leading up to it was awesome. In terms of, him having Colin at gunpoint, and then everything that happens after is so awesome. I already mentioned that, like when the bloody his black mate, whatever his name was, like when he gets shot as well. Oh man, devastating. And then when Colin realizes what's going on and then blasts the other guy, that was a hell of a 30 seconds for Colin, let me tell you. And I thought that was actually, speaking of strong Matt Damon moments, that was a strong one, because within 30 seconds, Colin's at gunpoint, gets in the elevator, and he goes on a roller coaster where he went from defiant. I think basically as soon as the doors close, he tells Billy to go fuck himself or something like that. And then he starts breaking down, giving up, and basically just says like he just wants to die.
Yeah, just kill me.
Kill me. Yeah. And then all this, and then the door opens and his life is saved out of nowhere. He learns the truth about there being other moles, and then reeling from that, then he kills the other guy. And it's like, dude, that has to be the most like insane, if you put yourself in those shoes, the most insane like turn of events like talk about flipping the page like 5 times in 30 seconds of like what your situation is and what's going on. Pretty radical. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the comparison of it to an SNL skit is wrong. Like, I get where it comes from, but like,
yeah, I get where it comes from too. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's all within the bounds of the film, and I think, I think like how you explained it, you know, I think it all functions well.
Absolutely.
But when you say you know where it comes from, like, you know specifically where it comes from, because it comes from a specific skit that's based off what is the teen show, like this OWC? What was that show?
The OC.
Or the OC, yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Wait, the OC. Yeah, the OC. But like, have you guys seen that clip where it's like they keep shooting each other and then they come back to life and they shoot each other? And it's like based off like a finale from the OC. No. Anyway, regardless, it's like it's like one of SNL's like best skits. But that's
SNL's good skits.
Back in the day, they had a few good ones. Yeah.
Well, so what? And this feels similar to that in some way, just with the nature of then someone else gets shot.
Someone else coming in and shooting someone else, and someone coming in and shooting
right.
someone else. It's literally like very similar to that. But I don't know if Andy was actually referring to that specifically, or just the fact that it feels like an SNL skit, like in general. Yeah. But there is an SNL skit that is like that. So
that's funny. That's funny. But I don't know. Like I think I'm with Jaden where like I didn't know about that skit, but like I understand like that what you're saying about the element of someone coming in and getting shot and someone else coming in. Like, I get that, but like I don't know. I don't see that as a down point at all. I think it's
no.
I get this. I can draw the parallel, but like I think the same reason it would be funny. Like if it's played in a humorous way and gone over the top is like also why it's impactful in a drama when it's, you know, not quite so over the top. Maybe if one other dude came in, then, you know, that's when it would cross that skit line maybe. But I thought it was really great.
If Dingham had a shot him there and then, you know.
Yes. Yeah. Dingham then walks in with his little, oh dude, actually that'd be skit. Dingham comes in right then and there like you're saying, but remember he's got the weird like shit around his feet, around his shoes.
The forensic shoes.
The forensic shoes. Imagine him waddling in that moment with his forensic shoes on. That'd actually be pretty funny.
I love everything that Dingham like wears in this film. I think his attire is great. Like in The Office, he has that. I don't know. He just has a good fitting like suit and everything. I don't know.
I can't remember what he was wearing. It was wearing like wasn't it just a shirt and a tie? Or am I just?
Yeah, but I don't know.
He has like that gun strap, doesn't he?
Yeah, the gun strap.
Yeah, you're right.
But then his physique just really fits what he's wearing, and then obviously at the end he wears that forensic stuff. It's just I don't know. Everything about what he wears is so like precise in the film, I guess.
You know what? Now that you brought that up, and with the gun straps, like you know how he was cast to play Nathan Drake for years. It's like, do you reckon whoever that was, like around that, it would have been not around this time, saw this film and was like, there he is. You know, that's what led to it. Maybe.
Did he do Max Payne as well, Wahlberg?
I think so.
No, I could also put that in being like why he got cast as Nathan Drake, if it is.
True. Yeah. Oh, we got to. I mean, how have we not? We've sort of danced around it 50 times, but the actual final shot of this goddamn movie, you know, unsurprisingly, I think you guys already know this about me, but this is in that tier of like Scorsese just goat final shots to me. And I don't know. I guess I'm interested if you guys got any deeper meaning from it this time. I think it's a fairly on the nose final shot, but I think all of his great final shots aren't like fucking, you know, to sit there and fucking rewatch them 3 times and draw a pen over them to understand them. Like I think they're all fairly self-explanatory on the surface, and I think that's and just with how striking the visuals are, I think that combination is what makes them great. You know.
Mm. So what is that building again exactly? Is it like a significant building in Boston?
Yeah, it's like the Boston. I googled it. It's like the Capitol building
for Boston.
For Boston, yeah. Well, yeah. I think it is called the Capitol building, but you know, it's the one in Fallout 4, obviously, Jack. You know.
I was trying to think. I've seen it in a game. I can't remember if it was like The Last of Us or was Fallout 4. But obviously,
it's
for
in
that
both.
makes sense.
It's in both.
It's in both. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because Last of Us starts in Boston. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say,
what
I thought it did. Yeah.
it's literally that same building. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it is called the Capitol Building, but it's like I take it as just representing official bureaucracies, due process, law and order, if you will, that kind of thing.
Oh, right. So, like, for Colin, it represents, like, being official, being, like, legitimate, I guess. That's why he
I think
looks
so.
up to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And I think it's like that sort of dangling thread for all of the characters. Well, all of them. Yeah, for Colin is probably the best one. And then even maybe a bit for Billy, of like that dangling carrot of like legitimacy, finding true purpose. And like the aspiring idea of, justice and fairness and not, the truth, basically, I guess.
And video games.
And The Last of Us, yeah. And then, but it's all too elusive for these people,
Yeah. Deep.
Yeah, I think
it is deep. I mean, the rat. I mean, it's a great image. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Yeah, and it's the thing. I don't know, like, because there's a rat. There's a rat.
The rat's
like,
in his house. The rat's with him.
Yeah, like you can make the argument, like, I don't know, that's service level. I don't care. I think it's awesome. The only other element to it this time I was sort of curious about was, I read in the trivia, I was thinking about, like, I thought it was a bagel that he had dropped, and the shot comes up first, and it's like the body, and it pans up to like he dropped the groceries on the floor first. And I was thinking about the intentionality of that, and trivia pointed out that it's like the same groceries that Frank gives him at the start of the movie, like is when he starts putting shit in his grocery bag, he'll take some bread or whatever. And so I thought that was interesting. There was definitely some significance to that as well. I'm very curious because they say it once in the movie, as far as I recall. Like, what does the title mean to you guys?
They say it a couple of times.
They say it.
Do they?
A lot of times, yeah.
Really? I only heard it once. Oh, my bad.
And they even zoom in on it and on like the actual like physical word one time.
Well, that doesn't count. I'm just curious what it means to you guys, because I don't really know, to be honest. I was like trying to think about. I mean, I don't. They reference it in reference to the dead in the film. Apparently, they said it more times than I understood. So, is that how it's always referenced?
Oh, like in the film?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you guys. I don't know.
I don't know either. I really don't. I was in terms of just trying to think about. I mean, okay, all the main characters die. Sure, it's about them. Like, I don't know. That feels wrong.
I don't think it's meant to be as like literal as like it is about the death of the characters.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like we've done a good job analysing the themes of the film, and I just don't know how the word relates to the themes, really.
I was reading Roger Ebert's in a review, and he was saying that you could swap out the titles and they'll both be as aptly applied. So it must be like, I mean, in regards to Infernal Affairs as well. So,
right.
I don't know. Like,
so he saw something in it.
He saw something in it, and he sees it as being from the story, like from the original story as well. So,
okay. Yeah, interesting. I don't know. Well, is it maybe God, this is me on the spot. Totally, could turn out total nonsense. But if the idea is that, I don't know, by putting on these personas, I know these characters are like killing their real identity. Well, okay. The only reason I'm going down,
like, view of it.
Yeah.
The main reason I'm going down this road is, in particular, I noted that the title card comes up at quite a specific moment when Leo goes into prison. And it's like, that's the death of his true self or his past or whatever you want to call it, to then become this version of him, like this undercover, playing this character for Frank version of him. And, you can definitely say something similar for Colin and what he does. So it's all, yeah, that's an idea.
Like, I think it does apply to the deaths, but I think it's more. I think it's probably more appropriate to the metaphorical deaths of each character. But
The
yeah,
metaphor. Yeah, right. The metaphor to deaths of their true selves.
yeah.
I like that. I like that. I just want to briefly remind you guys that you guys groaned when I nominated this. I just want to throwing that out there.
I knew I was going to lose. That's why I groaned.
Okay, all right, sure.
Sure.
Okay, Infernal Affairs.
I just got a message from Andy, so it's a good time to get to his review.
What did he say? Oh, was it just another unrelated message?
Oh no, I just got a notification saying that he messaged me, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. So I've got some of my own trivia here. I did some digging, guys. I found an Indian interview. Well, Indian publication interviewed Martin Scorsese in 2006 at the release of this film, and it's the main interview I could get where someone asked him about Infernal Affairs. And this is what he said. This starts off worse than where you think it's going, and at least it did for me. When asked about Infernal Affairs, he says, to me, The Departed isn't a remake at all. When I was offered the script, I didn't think of it as Hong Kong. I just liked the idea. I responded to Bill's script. Hong Kong cinema is something you can't duplicate anyway. Infernal Affairs is a great film, the plot, the concept of the two informers. What appealed to me was that underlying story of betrayal and trust. And when we decided to keep those elements in our film. But The Departed is set in a different world. I mean, that's it. I like that. I thought that was interesting insight. And the other aspect, so like he says, but he didn't know it was a remake when he read the script. Was the thing. He just read the script for what it was, and then found out afterwards it was a remake. I know Andy's got a whole bunch of thoughts on all that, but the thing that I find interesting about it is that I appreciate Marty's take, and I think he's been totally genuine in that. But you can't, you watched that death scene we were talking about with Leo, and I rewatched the Infernal Affairs one, and they are quite different tonally. Like the Infernal Affairs one, Andy mentions there's some sort of operatic sort of religious music going on, and the whole countdown with the elevator is just not the same. It plays out a little bit differently, but the shot to the head out of nowhere, but even beyond that, like the elevator doors closing on the corpse back and forth, it's that's the same. So all I'm saying is that Scorsese clearly took more than just story inspiration or whatever. He clearly watched Infernal Affairs and took something from it, just because all you have to do is watch the two scenes and see that. So yeah, I just thought that was worth pointing out. You watch it in the similarities. There are differences, but there is clearly inspiration as well.
Yeah. I mean, he has a kind of poetic way of talking as well, so I think you gotta take it with a grain of salt, like whatever he does actually say, but
True.
Even if he didn't watch it, someone within, people within the production staff would have seen it, and that's how it would have ended up to that degree of similarity,
Yeah, that's true. Oh, so you're saying even you think for just taking one very hyper-specific example, the doors closing on the corpse, you're saying that that could have been someone else's idea and he didn't necessarily have to have seen the film at that point.
And that could have even been written into the script that he read.
True. Yeah, that's true.
I don't know how much detail they put into the script, because usually it's meant to be bare bones, but that might have been something
it could have been
thought significant to put in.
Yep. So you're definitely right.
Yeah.
I would need to read the script. You're definitely right. Yeah. I mean, but
give him the benefit of the doubt.
He thought he said the film was great. So he obviously by the time he was doing press, he'd seen it.
Yeah.
So that's obvious. The trivia was actually pretty decent, but we talked so long about all the other stuff. Al Pacino was going to be Costello. He was Marty's first choice, but then Jack was his second choice.
Yeah, believable.
I can see it.
Yeah, I think Nicholson's better.
Sure. Yeah. Along the same lines, Brad Pitt was cast as Colin.
Brad Pitt produced this film.
Yeah, that's why he produced it. Yeah, because he was cast. Yeah. Yes, but he did produce it. But he dropped out to shoot Babel instead with Alejandro.
The inferior Brad Pitt film that starts with BAB. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I thought the same thing when I've seen that film on IMDb before. I'm like, Babel on? Babel. Yeah. Roughly half of the $90 million budget went to the actors' salaries.
I mean, you got some huge names in here. It doesn't really
Yeah, it
surprise me.
doesn't surprise me at all. But I just I like that stuff. I'm interested in it. I'll leave it on this. I don't know. This might open a can of worms, but I thought it was interesting. When receiving the top award from the Directors Guild of America for this film, Martin Scorsese said that, quote, "This is the first film I have ever done with a plot."
See, that's what I mean. Where you can't really take what he says seriously. Like what the fuck does that mean? He's
it's one of those things.
Artistic liberties with his language.
Does he just mean that the rest of his films prior to this were more like character focused? Is that what he means? I guess
possibly. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where if you were to sit down with him, like he'd give you some rationale that makes sense, but like probably doesn't fit the actual definition of plot.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. In terms of what he means, character focus, maybe.
But if I think about it, like King of Comedy, Raging Bull, even Gangs of New York, I could still think of like all as character films rather than plot films, if that's what he meant.
I think that's probably the best interpretation of what he said. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to go and think about literally every single film he's done before that, but those examples, you can make the case, I think. Yeah. Okay.
I do think it's interesting that it's dropped in his fallings. Like that's dropped in his rankings rather. Yeah.
Andy, we're going to read your thoughts. We're going to just we're going to pick highlights and stuff. So apologies in advance, but also maybe you could have been a bit more succinct.
Greatest aspects of the original that carried the fluky ass is the co-directors. So he takes issue with the direction, but then he also criticizes Scorsese's direction, which I find interesting. But
yeah. So just going back to Infernal Affairs in terms of like trying to put myself. God, we did that years ago now. Andrew Lau and Andy Lau are different people. Yes.
Well, if he's calling Andrew Lau a hack here, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he goes on to like reference Andy Lau in a different light. So I think they're different people. But I think we probably talked about that at the time, but I can't remember.
Andrew Lau's
he's the director. But reading it, I was like, wait, did Andy Lau also direct it, or
no? Yeah, they're different people.
Yeah, they're different.
They're different people. Okay, that does clear that up. Okay, gotcha. Okay. So Infernal Affairs has dropped. That's fair.
He specifically points out the staging of the rooftop climax.
Yeah, this is what. Yeah, this is what.
How do you take that? Because I feel like we didn't really mention the staging. We talked about like the tone, but you didn't really mention like the staging, which is what he says he takes issue with.
So I assume he means, going back to the SNL reference, I assume he just means like the blocking in which like the characters sort of appear, and even going back to the rooftop of like. I don't know. Yeah, I don't take any issue with any of it. Like in terms of then the other guy coming in and it's sort of being a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Feeling a bit awkward to him, I guess. I don't know. I don't really. I don't see it. Sorry, Andy. Sorry. But he said the original Hong Kong version looks more slick, simplistic, and less annoying, whereas the part just feels loud and unsubtle. Yeah. I mean, I do think that they put less. I definitely agree with the style aspect of it. Like if you go back and watch the Infernal Affairs, where they're just facing, even before like the gunpoint stuff, when they're just facing off on the roof, the Hong Kong one definitely like has style to it. Like it's trying to create this sort of moment between the characters. I don't think Scorsese was too interested in that. I think he's just like they met on the rooftop. Here it is, done. So I mean, I get liking one over the other. I do understand that they are different.
I complain about how an unclassy sweary film like The Departed should never be preferred over Infernal Affairs. Interesting line, that one. Unclassy? I don't know about that. Sweary? Even sweary, I actually don't even think it's that sweary compared to some other Scorsese stuff.
Yeah, it's on par at best.
Maybe not compared to Scorsese, but it's pretty...
yeah, I mean, in general, yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Like, is it even that sweary? Do I just swear that much, man? Oh my god.
It was sweary. It was, okay. Yeah. I mean, you're right, though, in reference to Scorsese's filmography. He was a fan of the editing, though. He was with you more so, Fitzy, I think.
How something this cheesy was allowed to win Best Picture at the Oscars? Cheesy?
Yeah. I think Infernal Affairs is cheesier, sorry, Andy.
Yeah.
I mean, Andy does admit it here somewhere. Oh, God. maybe it was probably back up. Where he references that like there was questionable choices in the elevator sequence in Infernal Affairs with the music as well, and so like he acknowledges it. But I think that's definitely more cheesy than anything Marty does here, in my opinion. Yeah, cool. All right, I'll send it off here. Zach winning the poll was definitely not offensive though. I just wanted to make sure.
You wanted to end it on that one.
And I remembered he previously said he preferred the title for the original over the remake's title. I'm glad Andy remembered I said that because I don't. But I'm given the somewhat confusion around the title, it sounds like something I would say. I look forward to hearing a discussion and taking notes along the way in case of further ranting in the comment section. God, I hope not. 7 out of 10. Thank you, Andy. I hope you weren't. I don't want it to come across like we're just trying to pick you apart here with the way we did that. But I hope you understand, Andy. You know, it was a long one. Thank you for writing in, though. We appreciate your thoughts. All right, I think I actually am pretty good now on this film. That was a long one, but I thought it was decent. I enjoyed it. Cool. All right, let's get to our final verdicts for The Departed. Fitzy.
I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I'll bestow a 9 upon it. Yeah, it has been an 8 before. It has been a 10 before even.
Wow.
But I'll leave it on a 9 for now. Yeah.
Take the middle ground. Nice.
Yeah,
it's a big fat 9 for me as well, for sure. Really love this movie. Jaden.
Yeah, same 9. I think the fact that it kept my attention last night so well after I thought it wasn't going to, but I think it keeps
that's an achievement.
9. Yeah,
that's an achievement for sure. Yeah, we'll see if Breaking Dawn Part 2 can achieve the same next week. You guys want to do highlights? I can go either way. If you guys got something to talk about, I'm more than happy to.
If Liam's got something, I'll do something.
I don't really have anything. I mean, like I watched it yesterday.
Oh yeah.
All my troubles were so far away. Like it was kind of enjoyable for the first half, but I think as soon as freaking Kate McKinnon comes in and he goes to America, it just becomes really bad and cheesy, and then it just kind of devolves into this schmaltzy film. But I do love some of the Beatles sequences and stuff. They're pretty good songs. So I don't know, like the first the concept, I guess, as well could have been handled more interestingly, but I think it just kind of, the main idea just kind of became a crux, and as I said, I think the romance was just complete shit, and I don't know, the way it just devolved into schmaltz was just so cringe, and Ed Sheeran being there, like, oh my god, don't get me started on that, but yeah, it was not, it was good, and then it was not good, so yeah.
Wow, I forgot Ed Sheeran was in that movie. That's funny.
How could you forget, man? It's cringe.
I forgot the whole movie. I don't know. I watched it once. I thought, oh yeah, that's a 7.
Yeah, exactly.
And then never thought of it again. Oh man. Oh god. Okay, fine. I watched Virgin Suicides this week.
Oh no.
So I don't. This is my thing with this movie. I surface level liked it. I enjoyed it. I don't get it though. Like is there like, I don't know, some sort of like thematic resonance or like emotional resonance this movie has for people? Like genuinely, I've got no idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Did it for you guys? Like, can you help me out?
I watched this a long time ago, back when I was in
Okay.
like year 10, so I can't really help you with that.
Okay. All right. Fitzy, can you help me at all? It's totally fine if you can't.
Oh, what did you like get from the film though? Like, what did you?
Basically nothing, to be honest with you. Other than like, it's hard. I don't know. It's hard being a kid out there.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's like about how they romanticize and idealize the girls, but they don't really think about the strict, family situation that they're in. Something like that. I don't know.
So the family situation was meant to be like quite bad.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Or like, I mean, it's not shown to be like the worst thing ever, but I think the fact that no one pays enough attention to how the girls actually feel, and they just kind of like romanticize them is like the main kind of point, I guess, that they don't really want to know them. So I think that's the main idea.
Okay. No, I can see that. Yeah. Watching it basically. So it's established very early that it's like, oh, those parents, they're so strict on them. And then, like, watching the movie, I just thought the parents weren't that bad. So, like, I thought that I don't know, maybe it was a me thing. I just thought like the point was going to end up being the parent, like something about this whole thing was misunderstood, which I guess maybe it kind of was, but I don't know. I didn't think the parents were that bad. I didn't think like I don't know. I sort of felt like that was maybe part of the point, but then it confused me.
But even if they weren't that bad, doesn't that work to the whole mystery of the girls and that people didn't want to understand them?
Yeah, but then and then maybe I'm what the film's talking about then because I didn't understand them. You know,
because who says that the parents are bad? Was it the narrator, like the male narrator, or was it someone?
Yeah, I think the narrator, and there's some quick shots where other parents like over the road, drop it in there.
Yeah.
It definitely felt like that was the film's only motivation, like given explicitly for like why their life wasn't great, supposedly. You know.
I reckon you should pull up the Spark Notes for that next time.
Yeah. Maybe I should. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I kind of knew that was going to be an awkward one, but I just wanted to get it out in case you guys had thoughts, and Liam did help me a bit. So yeah, Jan, what did you watch?
I watched this film called Mr. Crockett. It's a horror movie from this year. It's got a really interesting concept of like this children's TV host that like comes out of the TV and steals kids away. It's just kind of poorly executed in that like it's just kind of dull, and like it's a lot of dialogue and like kind of explaining rather than like doing. Like it's cool, and it is a very cool concept, and like the main performance is relatively strong, but I think it just kind of all falls flat in the end. Where I think it all falls kind of just short of being decent. No, it's a 5 out of 10. It's okay. Everything just kind of falls, a bit short.
Okay, all right. Okay,
and that's on Disney Plus, in case you were wondering, Zach.
Thank you. Well, it sounded like it was going to be on Shudder. All right, very good. Now comes the segment where we hand the show over to you with our question of the show. Last week, we asked you, who is the quintessential Martin Scorsese actor? Leanne said, Robert De Niro is the quintessential Martin Scorsese actor. Their extensive record of collaboration spans more than 50 years and 11 films. Noteworthy movie collaborations include Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Goodfellas, and The Irishman. I mean, what a list right there. More than half of their collaborations resulted in nominations for Academy Awards, with De Niro receiving a Best Actor award for Raging Bull. When Leonardo DiCaprio deliberately decided to reshape his acting career, he chose to collaborate with one of the best, Scorsese. Their collaboration has been successful and emphasizes great aspects of Scorsese's later career. Their work together spans a period of 20 years and 7 films. Gangs of New York, The Aviator, The Departed, The Wolf of Wall Street have been memorable success stories for DiCaprio and Scorsese. As mentioned, my vote goes to De Niro, though, who represents the best of the great director's early career and some of his more recent works as well. Yeah. DiCaprio is not to be overlooked, but he decided to connect with the great master when Scorsese was a sure thing. Interesting. De Niro and Scorsese helped shape and develop each other's greatness. DiCaprio, although a very good actor, chose to bask in the established spotlight of Scorsese. DiCaprio has, of course, also helped enable Scorsese to continue his impressive catalogue of work. I like that take. I like that.
I think that's probably an interesting thing about Leo as well, that he does pick his projects well and carefully.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And part of that was basking in the limelight of Scorsese, not taking any risks, Andy Lau said, in hoping not to decide between De Niro and DiCaprio, the original quintessential Martin Scorsese actor is Harvey Keitel. I really felt he would have been the real Scorsese muse after seeing him in Mean Streets. And he also starred in Scorsese's debut, Who's Knocking at My Door. Is that a short?
No, it's a long one.
Is it really?
Not
I thought
long.
Main
Long.
Street's.
A feature.
It's a feature. Yeah.
I thought Main Streets was his first feature.
No,
Am I just wrong about that?
yeah,
Oh, my
you're
bad.
right.
Okay. I wouldn't be able to give you a PowerPoint presentation on why I chose Harvey as my answer, but he definitely gave that vibe of an actor who would associate in Scorsese films, regardless of collaboration numbers or lead roles. Yeah, I agree. Has he popped back up in any
Did you
way?
do Goodfellas?
Oh
Can't
shit, I don't
tell.
think so.
He was in The Irishman.
Was he?
Was he?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, I'm sure he's popped up here and there again then. But if you know what, if he was in his first film and then in The Irishman, that's pretty valid.
Not
That's
his
a
first
long
film.
stint.
Oh, yes, first film. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I thought you were referring to Main Streets again. I was like, oh no.
No, it's all good. I got you. Dr. Luke said, Robert De Niro, without much interrogation, it seems like if you're explaining to someone who Robert De Niro was to someone, you would describe him based on his Scorsese films. If you would explain Leonardo DiCaprio to someone, you would describe him based on What's Eating Gilbert Grape. That's funny. But yes, valid point about De Niro, though, to be honest. De Niro's done many, many things, of course.
Meet the Fuckers.
Bad Grandpa, or whatever
Meet
it's
the
called.
parents, meet the what's the third one? The children or whatever.
Meet the Children.
Meet the Children. Yeah, that's right. So he's done many, many things, many great works. But yeah, I think that's true. I think the whole stigma. I think De Niro, first and foremost, right? You think a gangster film. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
And that's was. I mean, it started with The Godfather Part 2, I guess. But actually, that's a good question. Like, did you do any gangster films between that and Goodfellas? You know, like Once Upon a Time in America. When was that? When did that come out?
You're asking for knowledge I don't have, mate.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I need fact checking, but I feel like I'm challenging the notion that like the De Niro identity comes from Scorsese specifically. Maybe it's been overblown because of
No. Well, there's
popularity.
Raging Bull and Taxi Driver before that as well. So like, it's not only gangster.
Oh no, 100%. No, I'm just saying in terms of like, you know, the things you think about when you just wait. Hang on, how did Luke put it? Robert, if you were to describe De Niro you'd describe him to someone based on his Scorsese films.
Yeah, I think.
And I'm making the argument you describe him based on a gangster film first.
I would. I think Scorsese, like as a general, is probably more.
Yeah, but if you do it to someone, if you do it to someone who doesn't know, though,
like an absolute layman, I would say like De Niro equals gangster. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, because I feel like because you're right. His Scorsese work is varied to the point where you sort of couldn't
King of Comedy
to say. Yeah, aka the Joker movies. Yeah. Even though he actually wasn't Joker, you know. But anyway. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I like some of these arguments. I really do. They're thought provoking.
Well, Spooky's argument was going to be my argument. Well, it wasn't so much going to be about Weg, but it was going to be that when I think of Leo, I just think of like all his modern great works.
Did you just call it Weg?
Yeah, What's Eating Gilbert Grape? You know, bro, you have to say that so much in year 10 that you had to use a shorthand.
I don't remember ever doing that, but
my god, you're saying What's Eating Gilbert Grape every time. My god.
No, I probably didn't, but I just found it so funny. Like that's so ingrained in you that you had to say Weg. We're talking now, like God, almost 8 years ago. Yeah, okay. No, I get you. Fitzy, I need to hear your argument. I'm really on the fence with this.
I refuse to answer this question.
Oh shit!
This is first of all, what is this question, man? Like,
first of all, you weren't here last week, so you can't complain.
Yeah, I know that's the problem. But like, come on.
We were originally going to just say DiCaprio versus De Niro.
That would have been better, honestly.
No, hang on.
So you have a different one?
Yeah.
No, I'm not answering first. You guys.
I already answered. What do you mean?
Did you?
Yeah, I said I agree with Spooky.
Okay. Well, yeah, I agree with Spooky too. I mean, the answer is there is one answer to the question. You know, like the Leo argument.
You're saying it's a bad question because the answer's obvious.
Yeah. Like quintessential, typical, prototypical is De Niro. Like there's no leeway there. for Leo. There's
I
no Leo
I disagree.
leeway.
I disagree. I'm not with
No,
that. I'm not with
okay.
you on that. I think it's a tough question. I really do.
I think it's a very simple question.
See, Leanne made a good argument for De Niro. You know,
Yeah, she didn't have to because the answer's just there.
so obvious.
Yeah.
No, I don't agree, man. I don't. I think so. And I obviously personal bias. You know, well, it's my answer. So, but like when I think of Scorsese's films, I really think if you look at his filmography, I think there's a pretty obvious divide in terms of just timeline. I'm going to try and pull it up again if I can. Between like, I don't know what you want to say, like old and new or whatever, but like there was a little bit of a gap of like less frequent stuff going on there. And he sort of had the resurgence came with DiCaprio, you know? And so like early days Scorsese, no doubt, obviously. The amount of collaborations with De Niro is so obvious. But talking through a 23-year-old person's lens who's honestly, in general, a bigger fan of Scorsese's latter half of his career than his early career, and the amount of incredible collaborations with DiCaprio in that latter half since that resurgence. You know, he's always been resurgence sounds like a weird word to use, but there was a period of time where he you know there was a bit less output there from him. You know what I mean? And then he sort of came back with a bang. The collaboration with DiCaprio revitalized everything, in my opinion. And so for me personally, I was so close on them. I really was. But like now you guys put me in a position where I'm making the case for DiCaprio. I really am.
But it's not who is your quintessential Martin Scorsese actor. It is who is the quintessential Martin Scorsese
all right.
actor.
In my opinion, DiCaprio is the quintessential Martin Scorsese actor because you have to take in his career holistically. And holistically, I understand, like, you know, people where he made his name, how people, you know, older folk like Fitzy, how they view his career, you know, for his films like prior to the 90s and stuff. But modern filmgoer, Martin Scorsese pictures.
That's literally looking at it at the opposite way of holistically. Looking at it holistically, it's fucking De Niro.
No. Looking at it holistically, they're very equal. And I personally side with DiCaprio.
But I think when you say like quintessential, you know, that word to me implies a little bit of history to it, more so than not. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
The most perfect example. You think DiCaprio is a more typical and perfect example of a Scorsese actor than De Niro? That's just, it's a bit nuts, you know. I mean, I don't really care that much, but it's just.
I think they're close. I do, but I don't know. I also, and actually, you know what? This actually might be this. I might be putting a hole in my own argument in terms of the quintessential aspect, but like, I personally view again. It's like weighing up personal view versus like, you know, how he's generally consensus, right? But in my opinion, I think Scorsese films are very varied. I don't think Scorsese. I mean, again, the layman you would describe as like the gangster guy, whatever. But I think Scorsese films are very varied. Yeah. I think DiCaprio performances in Scorsese films are very varied and all very high quality. I think they're more varied than De Niro performances in Scorsese films overall.
Looking at some of the early stuff, I mean, like De Niro was in New York as well. So like that's not. Is that gangster? I don't think that's not gangster. Is it?
Nah, that's fucking jazz.
Yeah. So like
and he's different in Main Streets as well.
And like so, like De Niro does have the variance in his performance within Scorsese films.
100%. Like, dude, King of Comedy, 100%. No doubt.
And like, what was the other one he was in? He was in another one. Cape Fear. Is that?
Yeah. He plays like a crazy criminal in that one. Not like
yeah. So like,
yeah, but okay.
So like, there is variance as well. Variance is your point.
There is No, I'm not saying there's not variance, but I don't know. Like, okay, New York, jazz, awesome, right? Taxi Driver, you know, whatever, you know, it is
Vigilante.
Vigilante man, Joker man, and then, you know, King of Comedy, After Hours. All right, great, whatever. Dude, these films are way more similar than his modern works. Dude, they're basically all in fucking They're basically all in Manhattan. first of all. So regardless of genre and stuff, I feel like there are more, in all these different areas, there are more similarities between them than his later works.
Well, De Niro was also in Killers of the Flower Moon, so that's a bit different.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like, can we just cancel that one because they were both in it? You know what I mean? Because they were both in it. That doesn't come into the conversation. I'm looking, in terms of my divide argument, right? I'm looking here at his filmography. He had a very steady rise through the 70s. 80s were kind of probably a bit quieter, but then Goodfellas kicked off the 90s strong, for sure. And then, kind of like, not bad. Casino, of course, is a standout.
I like how you can look at this 80s runs of Raging Bull, King of Comedy, Last Temptation of Christ, and Michael Jackson, like music video, and say,
dude, Michael Jackson's music video doesn't fucking count at all.
It's like one of the most fucking famous music videos of all time. Bad is more famous than like half of like Scorsese's work. All
right. I'll concede that. I will. But let's go to Casino, and let's go above Casino. My Voyage to Italy that must be a documentary, right?
Yeah.
Kundun, what the fuck is that? No offense.
Bringing Out the Dead.
Kundun's pretty well known.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sure. All right. Is that? I don't know. Okay. Maybe that might be my fault. From my point of view, feel free to tell me if you think this is whack. Casino is the end of an era on this list. The Gangs of New York is the beginning of a new era. And what's the difference? It's the De Niro DiCaprio era. There's a 7-year gap in between them. Yeah. Again, I don't know what fucking Kundun is, so apologies if that's very significant.
Yeah.
Bringing Out the Dead is actually probably like the bigger one of the two.
Is it really?
About them. Yeah.
Really? But who are they? Who in these movies? That's Nick Cage in that movie. Oh my god.
Yeah, John Goodman.
Okay, is De Niro in any of these movies? Is Casino the end of De Niro's?
Yeah, we know this. Like everyone knows this. What's your point, man?
Oh, sorry, I don't know. Sorry, from my point of view, I'm making a unique point. It's everyone
knows
like
this segmented into fucking De Niro and DiCaprio.
Oh, I'm really sorry. Okay, I'll shut up then.
He also segmented into fucking Fran Lebowitz for some reason.
Apparently, the point that I was trying to really hard to make, everyone knows already. So apologies. But yes, that's my argument. Is that Gangs of New York above? Varied works, in my opinion, more exciting works. More up my alley of Scorsese. I think equally as valid.
Shutter Island's up your alley.
No. No. You know what? I picked De Niro. That's it. I rest my case. All right. As always, we'd love you to submit your responses, thoughts, and/or reviews for next week's film in the YouTube or Instagram comment section, or join the Discord server. This week, the specific question we'll be asking you is, who's the ugliest CGI character in a movie? Let us know. All right. That's it for this week's episode. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Fitzy, what do we have to watch next week?
Oh, dude. We're making it through the Twilight series. The Twilight
Through
Saga.
the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. Breaking Dawn Part 2. The final one. And then we can watch, something else for a franchise. Maybe something that isn't wearing us down.
50 Shades, yeah.
You haven't truly done Twilight if you ignore 50 Shades.
Yeah.
That might be a 2027 one. We'll see. Yeah, cool. All right, and that's, I assume, on the same place, Stan and shit, the same place as it's always been, I guess.
Stan, Foxtel, Binge. You can buy it from Apple TV, YouTube, Google Play, Amazon Prime.
Yeah. Make sure to buy it, guys. Buy it in 4K for us. Very nice. Okay, that's it. Thanks, guys, for joining me, as always. Oh my god, I almost misclicked and closed my fucking window. Jesus Christ. All right. Lost it all. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next week.